Good afternoon, guys. Today we're going to talk about the tritone substitution. Now this video is less of a what is it and more of a why does it work. So if you don't know what the tritone substitution is, maybe this isn't for you. But if, like me, you get just a little bit too much into this sort of thing and understanding how and why things work, then you're in the right place. So most of us already understand that the reason the tritone substitution works is because the tritone interval found within our normal dominant seventh chord of the key can also be found within the dominant seventh chord a tritone away from our normal dominant seventh chord of the key. And put most simply, this is because the tritone interval cuts the octave perfectly in half. So here we have an octave between B, and our tritone interval comes exactly halfway between the two. So here we have B and F, the third and flat seventh of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key. We're in either C or C minor, so that's going to be G7. And to find our tritone sub, we simply move a tritone away. So we'd move this whole assembly to here, and when we do that, as you can see, we arrive at exactly the same two notes. The only difference is our B, which was previously on the bottom, is now on the top, and our F, which was previously on the top, is now on the bottom. And thus, the third and flat seventh of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key have switched places with the third and flat seventh of our tritone substitution. And this is the case whether we go up a tritone, as we've done here, or down. So now we're going to take a look at this in even more detail. And we're going to take each note from our normal dominant seventh chord of the key and flip them over the roots of our tritone substitutions. So over the intervals of a diminished fifth and an augmented fourth. And this will show us why that same tritone interval from our normal dominant seventh chord is also present within our tritone substitutions. So we'll start with a flat 5. So the root is obviously a flat 5, beneath the flat 5, so an augmented fourth above. So that'll be a sharp 11. Now our major third is a diminished third below the diminished fifth, so an augmented sixth above. Now that might not look like a lot to start with, but we can of course respell that augmented sixth interval as a minor seventh interval. And when we do that, we can see that the third of our normal dominant seventh chord has become the flat seventh of our tritone substitution. The perfect fifth is an augmented unison above the diminished fifth, so in the real world that's a minor second or a flat 9. And lastly, our flat seventh of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key is a major third above the diminished fifth. So the full switch has now taken place. The third of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key has become the flat seventh of our tritone sub, and the flat seventh of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key has become the major third of our tritone sub. And this of course works in exactly the same way from the perspective of the augmented fourth as well. So our root is an augmented fourth below the augmented fourth, so diminished fifth above, so that's going to be a flat 5. Our major third is a major second below the augmented fourth, so a minor seventh above. So there we go, it's happening again. The third of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key has become the flat seventh of our tritone sub. The perfect fifth is just a minor second above the augmented fourth, so again a flat 9. And lastly, our flat seventh of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key is actually an augmented fifth below the augmented fourth, so a diminished fourth above. But of course, we can respell that diminished fourth as a major third, so our F becomes an E sharp. And when we do that, we can see that again, the full switch has taken place. The major third of our normal dominant seventh chord of the key has become the flat seventh of our tritone sub, and the flat seventh of our normal dominant 7th chord has become the major third of the tritone sub. So when we flip the chord like this, we can clearly see why that same tritone interval from our normal dominant 7th chord is also present within our tritone substitutions. And we can also see why the component parts of that interval switch places.
We can also see this relationship play out between the 4th and 7th modes of the melodic minor scale. From our 4th mode, Lydian dominant, we can build a dominant 7th chord with a sharp 11. If we flip each note of this chord over its sharp 11 in the same way we've just done, we get another dominant 7th chord with the same tritone between its 3rd and flat 7th, this time deriving from the 7th mode of melodic minor, the altered scale. If we do the same thing with this chord, and this time flip it over its flat 5, we will arrive at the Lydian dominant chord we started with. As you can see, each of these chords contain 2 tritone intervals. This increases our options for resolution. I'll talk more about the cool things we can do with this at the end of the video.
That is our 5-7 chord of the key, followed by our 1 chord. 5-7 to 1, the most recognisable progression in Western music. Now, even though we're hearing 2 4-note chords here, the voice leading of the tritone interval resolving to the major 3rd interval is so strong, we're essentially just hearing this, no matter what else we put in the chord. The tritone interval itself is so pronounced, so unstable, and so motivated to resolve, we can sprinkle pretty much anything we want into the chord alongside it. This is why dominant 7th chords are so often accompanied by extensions and altered extensions, and why such a wide array of modes from such a wide array of parent scales can be used to play over them. So in the case of our tritone sub, yes, we are adding 2 notes from outside the key, but this will only add to the inherent instability and amplify the inherent tension of the chord created by its tritone interval, making it even more motivated to resolve. That tritone interval is so ear-catching and so inevitably driven, its pull will never be undermined, and its function never changed or compromised.
We can view the 2 notes which are out of key in our tritone sub, the root and 5th of the chord, as a flat 5 or sharp 11 and a flat 9 of the standard dominant chord of the key. These are both completely legitimate tensions for a dominant chord. If we go a step further and superimpose this tritone sub on top of the root of our normal 5-7, we get an altered dominant 7th chord containing 2 tritone intervals, just like the melodic minor ones we saw before. With an extra tritone, we double our possibilities for resolution. This can take us to pretty distantly related keys.